Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Borough Hall. Welcome to Staten Island. For those who are not from Staten Island, Staten Island, like most people in this world, have been on both ends of sort of tragedy and devastation. When I was in Congress after 9/11, I remember so many people from around the country and around the world reaching out to see how they could help if there was anything the people of New York City or Staten Island needed. And America is a giving nation, as we know, probably the most charitable in the world. And likewise, after Hurricane Sandy, where neighborhoods were devastated, lives were not just ruined but lost in many instances, people from likewise around the country, in some cases around the world, came to the aid and assistance of many families as they try to rebuild and restore their lives, their homes, and their existence here in Staten Island. And recently, we've seen the devastation that has occurred in the South, from Florida up to North Carolina and throughout the Southeast. And we thought, collectively here, thought it'd be appropriate and the right thing to do to help the people in those regions restore their lives. So we're launching an effort today, the Staten Island Hurricane Relief Drive, to encourage people to open up their hearts and pocketbooks, in some cases, their wallets, to give to the families that are just trying, in some cases, look for loved ones still, but know that what we can do here, if anything, we're going to give them material goods, right? Food and clothing and things like that. But we want them to know that they're not alone. There were many folks who went through Sandy feeling that perhaps they were alone, but so many came forward and stepped up, and yes, they helped, and yes, they cleaned, and yes, they gave. But the most important thing for people now to know is that they're not alone. And there's a lot of resiliency, there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of prayers that are taking place, but we can do our part and help these people get their lives back together. And coincidentally, I have a cousin who lives just outside of Asheville. My uncle lived there, no longer lives there. But my cousin, I reached out to her a few days ago to see how she's doing. And to show you the spirit, she responded, "Hey, Vito, nice to hear from you. We're safe. We have no power, no water, no driveway, and no bridge. Our community is strong and pulling together to help each other. It's a beautiful thing." Now, here's a young girl, not young anymore. Here's a person who, they live in the mountains. They live secluded. As I said, I've been to that house. They have nothing, but they have spirit, and that's a beautiful thing. And what we're trying to show, not just my cousin, but to the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are suffering, that the people of Staten Island care, and we're going to do our part to improve their lives, improve their lot. We're not doing this alone. We are coordinating these efforts with the folks I'm going to introduce momentarily, but the lead effort as we collect, and it's not just going to be your traditional drop-off locations, the elected officials. This is it right here. So we're going to have elected officials, all have agreed to use their offices or to allow their offices as drop-off sites, And we have partnered with Amazon, where, as many of you know, if you have a registry, a birthday, wedding, showers, whatever, you can go and scan the QR code, and there's a wish list that you can buy from Amazon, and those items will be sent to the people in North Carolina. And as I mentioned, couldn't do this alone. The folks, after we collect, will be distributed and trucked down south, and the leading that effort will be the International Association of Firefighters, and they are represented today by Kurt Lesser. Kurt?
Thank you, Mr. Fossella. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. And as the Borough President said, these people are not alone, and they need to know that. They need to know that there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I am a retired New York City firefighter. And on 9/11, after that, there were people from all over the country that helped us. And there were people that all over the country came to Staten Island, to Long Island, to other parts of this great city to help us after Sandy. So, you know, when other people need help, it is our duty and our honor to step up and try to help them. And on behalf of the International Association of Firefighters, Penske, who, as the Borough President said, we have to truck the supplies and things that the people need. And Penske has donated their truck services. And we are in charge basically of providing boots on the ground. That's what we do. We're a group of retired and active firefighters and friends of firefighters, police officers, and first responders alike. And that's what we're going to do. As soon as everything, and as the Borough President also alluded to, this is a dynamic situation. Right now, everything that's thought was going to happen could change after tomorrow when Hurricane Milton makes his visit to landfall. So right now, the best thing that we can do is ask those who are listening and those who are watching to give whatever you can, whether it's time, money, services, whatever it is you can do. These people need our help, and they need it badly. So with that, I'll just turn it back over to the Borough President. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much, Kirk, and thanks to all the firefighters, active and retired. There's nobody better that you want to see when you're in danger than a group of guys like that. So we appreciate all your efforts. I think we're going to collect for the next 10 days or so, and then the week of October 20th, thereabouts, the trucks will start to head back and publicly thank Penske for stepping up as they always have. A gentleman who is no stranger to collecting and helping those in need, who's helped not just the Notre Dame Club of Staten Island with the Bread of Life drive for the last 30 or so years. Joe Delaney is going to really help orchestrate and carry us over the line. Joe, want to say a few words?
Thank you, Borough President. This is an inspiring gathering, and thank you for your leadership. Our elected officials, our citizens, we're all coming together for a common good. Americans helping our fellow Americans. And it is my pleasure on behalf of the Bread of Life and the University of Notre Dame Alumni Club of Staten Island, of which my president, Tom Ventrudo, is here with us today. We are working with our network of schools and asking them, we've sent them a list of what is needed, and many of them have already responded and will be dropping off items of food and the toiletries and the other sweatshirts and socks that are needed for this effort. And I'm also proud to say that we also have cooperated with and working with Catholic Charities of Staten Island, which I think Vito will tell you later will be the repository of where everything that's collected at the offices of the elected officials will come out to Mount Loretto, and then from there to Carolina. But just one more thanks to the Borough President and the elected officials for their leadership on this issue. You can count on us. People who are in need are always those that God has asked us to help, and we will respond to that. So, Vito, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Joe mentioned the Catholic Charities is going to be collected and then ultimately shipped and stored at Catholic Charities Mount Loretto, and then Kirk and the guys will deliver it. The woman who runs Catholic Charities, Claire, I tell her. Claire, say a few words.
We are proud to play a small part in this important endeavor. Many of you remember Hurricane Sandy and how the world came to our assistance. So it's only, fair, and we're honored to help the community. Thank you to the Borough Presidents and our elected officials that are here today for taking on this initiative and bringing the community together to help. We ask each one of you to assist with this noble cause, and we're all here to help the community. Catholic Charities is always here to assist in every way we can, and I'm glad that we can play a small part. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire. And again, to repeat, these folks, as you went through a Hurricane Sandy, some people, yes, lost their home, but there is, as Kurt said, a light at the end of the tunnel. And, there are a lot of differences, like every day feels like everybody's at war in any way, shape, or form. But the reality and the bottom line is these are our brothers and sisters. They're our fellow Americans, and they deserve our help. As Kurt said, it's our duty, and I hope people of Staten Island will stand up and help us out. A woman who is been in constant contact with some of her colleagues in Congress, is here today and helped to lead the effort in the aftermath of Sandy, Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis.
Well, thank you, Vito, for bringing us together. This is a really important time for our country. And I will say that we know all too well on Staten Island what it's like to go through the devastation of a hurricane. Hurricane Sandy devastated so many of our members of our community. But at that time, we came together and we did what we could to help our neighbors, our friends, our family members. And this is no different. It may not be our community this time, but there are our fellow Americans that are in need. And I think Staten Islanders have always shown time and again that they are generous, that they are caring, that they are willing to step up and help others. And I think that this will be no different, and this will be a successful effort. We will be able to deliver the supplies. Right before, 2 days before the storm hit, Congress authorized $20 billion that could be used for this storm effort. But we know that sometimes it takes a while to get on the ground, number one, but also that it's not enough, that we have to rely on community partners, on our corporate friends, good corporate citizens, to come together to deliver, whether it's hardware supplies, cleaning supplies, whether it's going to be socks, whether it's going to be food. We're seeing so many people stepping up right now from across the country. And as was mentioned, there's another hurricane about to hit tomorrow in Florida. So whatever is raised through these efforts will go a long way in supporting not just the folks in North Carolina and Georgia and the other impacted states, but I'm sure we're going to be using a lot of what we collect for the state of Florida as well. And so I want to thank everyone for coming together. I want to thank our Borough President for bringing us together. I want to thank the international firefighters for always being there to help. They are amazing. I mean, these are the people that always have our back, and we're happy to work with you on this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Among the corporate partners we have here are Josh Rivera from Con Edison. Josh, you want to say a few words? Right.
Mutual assistance. Tree trimming.
Thank you. As in the past, New York City, Staten Island in particular, have received assistance from our brethren and other utilities across the region on the Northeast Coast, part of the mutual assistance agreement. So this time we deployed several members of our overhead crews last week down south. They were working with Appalachian Power. They restored a significant amount of poles and lines in the area and installed all new transformers that were destroyed during the last storm. That same set of crew members are now en route to Florida in advance of Milton hitting Florida, the Florida coast, and will be deployed in Florida for some time to help restoration efforts down in Florida. We'll also be participating and the donation efforts, posting the poster that was shared by the Borough President earlier in both of our workout locations here on Staten Island at Victory Boulevard and at Davis Avenue, and asking our employees to pitch in and help out with these necessary wish lists that folks need or who need down south. So we appreciate being here, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh. Fortunately, we have great corporate citizens, have been mentioned, generous community, and we have a group of elected officials that reflexively always jump in and say, how can I help? And one of them is our Councilman Joe Borelli.
Thank you, Borough President. You ask a Staten Islander, your neighbor, to drive you to JFK, you might get a creative excuse. You ask your neighbor to drive you to LaGuardia, you're going to get hung up on. Newark, you have a shot. But the one area where Staten Islanders are incredibly generous is taking their hand, putting it down their back pocket, pulling out their wallet, reaching for a couple of dollars, and giving it to their neighbors or fellow humans in need. And the other thing about Staten Island is we're realists. We saw how long the process took during Hurricane Sandy. This is not a 2-week operation. This is not a 3-week operation. This is a 3-year, 4-year process. And unfortunately, our neighbors and friends in the Appalachian communities in North Carolina and elsewhere are about to get that dose of reality. That however long they think it's going to take to muck out their basements or repair their homes, it's going to be a lot longer. And it's one of the most poor and impoverished areas of our country. So these are people who are going to use the goods that we ship them, not just in the immediate future, but probably long term. They're going to need it. So it's great that we're able to step up as the one-time recipients of the largesse of folks from all over the country. It's great that we're now able to step up and share the wealth. So I would encourage all my Staten Island neighbors, reach down into your back pocket, pull out your wallet, pull out a couple of dollars, or use your interwebs to go on the website, figure out what's on the wish list, and help some of those folks that are our brethren who undoubtedly provided for us, and at least prayed for us when we needed it most about 12 years ago. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Now we're going to have a handful of elected officials and their reps come up one by one. Just follow each other, folks. State Assemblyman Mike Tanusis.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Borough President, for leading this effort. My district in the East Shore that the Congresswoman represented before me, of course, got ravaged by Hurricane Sandy. We still have not fully recovered from it. If you drive down Father Capodanno and see, there needs to be life brought to that location. So with that being said, our community is no stranger to these types of disasters. So I'm happy that our community can come together to support these fellow Americans. And with some great corporate sponsors that are willing to do the same. And, it's sad, but, we appear to be taking this a lot more seriously than our federal government, unfortunately, with $750 that they have given to these individuals. I don't know where the federal government's priority is. Obviously, it's not for the families affected, but it's incumbent upon us as Staten Islanders, as Americans, to help those Americans that are in need. Thank you all. God bless.
I'm here representing Councilwoman Camilla Hanks. She's chairing a committee hearing right now, but she did want me to remind all of you that we've done this before as Staten Islanders. Studies have just come out that once again Staten Island is the county in New York that gives the most philanthropic gifting in all of New York State. I remember when Congressman Fossella led an effort for the tsunami that affected Southeast Asia in 2004, and then in 2005 we all came together again when we found out that the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan were receiving suntan lotion, lip balm, and some other necessities. So we gathered that up and got together with corporate partners and sent that again, and here we are once again being very generous Staten Islanders, and I want to thank all my neighbors for once again doing this.
Good afternoon. My name is Giuseppe Desario on behalf of Councilman Carr, and just want to say that, Staten Islanders, as Councilman Borelli alluded to, we could be tough, but we're also some of the most compassionate people in the world, and we saw that after 9/11. We saw that after Sandy from South Beach all the way down to Tottenville, how people came together. So I have no doubt that all our offices will be filled with supplies ready to go down south. And again, can't thank Borough President Fossella for his leadership in this effort. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nick Robbins. I'm here today on behalf of Assemblyman Sam Pirazzolo. And the Assemblyman, he wants to extend his thoughts that we on Staten Island know all too well the challenges and heartache that follow a disaster like this. The memories of Superstorm Sandy are still fresh for many of us, and we will never forget how much the support from others meant in our time of need. When disaster strikes, Americans help Americans. It's what we do. Today, Staten Island is stepping up to return that favor and extend a hand to our fellow citizens in the South who have been hit hard by this devastating storm. We encourage everyone to contribute, whether it's canned goods, baby formula, diapers, new clothes, etc. Every donation will bring a small bit of comfort and relief to those who have lost everything through no fault of their own. Our district office at 2090 Victory Boulevard, about a block down from the Starbucks on Bradley and Victory, will serve as a drop-off point. We're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. Please come in. The Assemblyman would like to extend his thanks to Borough President Fossella for his steadfast leadership in organizing this donation drive, as well as the International Association of Firefighters and our community partners who will ensure that these supplies are delivered safely to the affected areas. Our hearts and prayers go out to the victims of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, and we're keeping the people of Florida in our thoughts as they brace for the hit of Hurricane Milton. It's in times like these, it's vital that we come together as a nation to support one another. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Vanessa Lamani. I'm the Staten Island Director to State Senator Jessica Scarcella-Spanton. Thank you to Borough President Vito Fossella for bringing us together to help support victims of this hurricane. Seeing the impact of Hurricane Sandy here on Staten Island, we understand just how critical aid is when disasters strike. Our borough was once in the same position as those affected by Hurricane Helene, and it's important that we help in any way we can. This is a reminder of how important preparation is during hurricane season, which is why Senator Scarcella-Spanton sponsored and passed Senate Bill S-2223, which was signed into law. This law ensures that our pharmacies, hospitals, and nursing homes are equipped with life-saving medical supplies that can be the difference between life and death during a natural disaster. Our office will support this effort for victims of this hurricane in any way possible to raise awareness and help collect supplies because we know the devastation that natural disasters can bring. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Fitzhim Shabani, representing Assemblymember Charles Fall. I want to thank the Borough President for leading this effort. Just want to say, true charity is not just giving. It's about uplifting those that are in need with dignity and respect. And I hope that we can continue to do that, not just through this effort, but in the days and months to come. Proud to have our office as a drop-off location. We're located at 853 Forest Avenue. Our office is open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But if you'd like to drop off any food, clothes, or anything of that nature during non-office hours, please contact our office and we'll schedule and make that happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Rounding it out is you have the Call Beanie Foundation is going to be very helpful here. This was called passed in 9/11, but their legacy, his legacy lives on. And as we mentioned, a lot of corporate sponsors and two critical organizations here at Staten Island, the Staten Island Economic Development Corporation and the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce. They are both here and will be helpful. Either Gina or Linda, you want to say a few words? You good? Good? Okay. With that, did I miss anything? I don't think I did. So any questions?
What kind of coordination is there going to be with the federal government on the ground? I know there's been a lot of misinformation around Helene, a lot of people going down there, federal government saying, turn around, we don't need you. What sort of coordination is there?
Yeah. Unfortunately, and if Nicole or anybody else wants to come and say, after Hurricane Sandy, if you may remember, there were not just federal inadequacies, there were some what they call NGOs, the Red Cross, and for example, that should have been on the front lines that were not. And there were a lot of folks who wanted to step up and help, and they were denied opportunities to help. We lived it, right? It was national. It's not a secret. And frankly, I don't really buy it. When somebody's in need, I don't care if it's the federal government or the people here. If they need paper towels, what the heck's the difference of where it comes from? So what we're going to do is collect. We're going to turn it over to Kirk and the firefighters to coordinate with the groups down in North Carolina, and they will get the goods to the people in their homes or where it's needed. And I think the federal government has more of an obligation to say, how can we best coordinate with everybody who wants to help, as opposed to reflexively saying, we don't want your help.
Yeah, so if you remember during Hurricane Sandy, the local electeds just did their own thing, right? We weren't relying on the federal government, these bureaucratic agencies. We were working together on our own with local organizations, many of which sprouted during that time. So I mentioned to Vito, I'm happy to help coordinate with my counterparts that represent those districts, and I think that could be a great way to put this together, but we'll defer to what our firefighters want to do, because they may be working with the local departments, and so we offer that assistance to make sure that's a drop-off location, working with those locals on the ground. But we'll have to, once we get the supplies, we'll work it out with the international firefighters to see how they want to go about it.
As an example, Oakwood Beach, right? There was an organization that never really left. They were there for years, practically. What's that?
It was Yellow Boots.
Yeah, and they were still there, and they were a godsend for the people of Oakwood Beach. That wasn't the federal government. That wasn't any government. That was just a bunch of volunteers who never left. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How much you foresee this round of collection expanding or doing another one?
Yeah, I think this is, is like everything else. You see it, you see the devastation, you want to see how can we best help. First contacts we made were to the firefighters, and as usual, they didn't hesitate and they stepped up. And people like Joe Delaney and the Notre Dame Club, but the elected officials, as Joe Borelli and others have said, this is going to be for a long haul. So we will do as much as we can for as long as we can. That's our goal. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you all.